All right, live Auburn post game. If you want Alabama, Michigan reaction, go to earlier in the day on our video platforms here. Jim Dunaway, along with my buddy Carl Prather, who's joined us now from, I assume, Huntsville. He's the sports director up at WAFF up there in Huntsville. Carl, my man, how you doing on your day off? You watching any football?
A lot. I'm got a rocking and rolling here at the house. I'm on a kid duty. My lovely wife is was up in Lexington for the Alabama game actually. So yours truly is uh, holding it down. Thoughts and prayers for everyone. I need them.
It's about to be bourbon time for me. I'm about to pop after number two here. I'm gonna hit the
Same.
bourbon for the late night. Troy's first in on our post game show saying "War damn Eagles." So, what do you think of Auburn, man? They've got that offense cooking now for the last three games.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in the media, and of course, Auburn fans have kind of, looked and just wanted to make the easy play easy, right? A lot of
Right.
drops the last, month or so of the year, and it kind of almost been kind of like a cumulative effect with the wideouts and things of that nature. Just not being able to make kind of the routine play routine. But if you've noticed the last 3 weeks or so, I know it didn't look great against Mississippi State, and I thought it got a little bit better 2 weeks later. And then, of course, today, uh, I just like the way that the offense has been able to just to manufacture some of the easy things that a scheme from Hugh Freeze kind of warrants. If you look at anything he's done, whether it's been at Ole Miss or you go back to his previous stop at Liberty, um, a lot of the things that they want to try to do from an offensive standpoint. Uh, short balls, quick hitches, slants, and then of course some of the deep balls that can occur. I just like the way that they've been able to just make the
Mhm.
routine. That's just for me. Yeah, it's year one. Do we have, from what we've watched, wide receivers or that can be able to kind of be game changers or dudes? No, but some of the routine things that we normally see in a Hugh Freeze offense, you kind of starting to kind of see that. You had a big day from Fairweather today. Peyton Thorne played fantastic as well, but I just like the way that they manufactured the easy plays offensively, especially with the wideouts today.
I love our audience. Dave walks in. Sounds like Carl Prather. Can't tell from this angle though. If
It's
you're
me,
wondering,
Dave.
yeah, it's him, Dave. If you're wondering, Ryan and LT both on other assignments right now, and EG also back home. So we wanted to get a little Auburn quick post game here as we watch Florida State wind down, trying to hold on against Miami. Washington has beaten Utah. We did an Alabama post game earlier after that with Michigan. It's all brought to you by lanceslock.com. Lanceslock.com. NH3425 did not expect this offensive performance from Auburn today. Over 300 rushing yards first over 300 rushing yards since 2017 against Georgia Southern. The rhythm comment is 100%. That's the
Mhm.
and the simple things. If I go back to when Hugh Freeze was cooking at Ole Miss and at Liberty, that's what his design of plays makes it look like it's simple. The little short throws and then run afterwards, and this team is getting scary. I know it's the joke on the Alabama side right now that Miss Terry and Nick had said Miss Terry woke up and said, "Man, that's gonna be tough to win at Auburn." He said, "We've got Kentucky first. Got to take it one step at a time." That's the joke, the comment out there from this week. But that ain't no lie. This Auburn team's getting better with that game on the horizon.
Yeah, and I think, Jim, to me, it probably was their most complete game. If you kind of look back and kind of look at the entire resume throughout the year for Hugh, everything was kind of humming. Our viewer that in the chat that you just mentioned, over 300 yards of rushing. But when you mentioned Hugh Freeze, if you go back to even his Ole Miss days and some of the guys that he had, some of the game changers, the game breakers that he had, yeah, you had those guys, but it's just as you mentioned, it's just the little things and the little nuances of the offense that made the quick throw turn into a six, and a six would turn into an eight, and then every so often, you'd have a game changing 30 or 40 yard deep ball or something of that nature. But I don't think Auburn. I think it's safe to say Auburn doesn't have that type of guy, but it's not that Hugh doesn't have the ability to kind of manufacture and get guys open. You just got to make the routine play and maybe be able to haul in the football. And you were able to see that with Fairweather. And of course, Jarquez has been fantastic the last month of the year, kind of, getting under his proverbial skis, being able to run the football. And listen, I just want to give a credit to a maligned group that's really kind of went through with the offensive line, Jim. Play really, really well today. And how about the defense and the defensive line? Marcus Harris, guys winning one-on-ones, just absolutely roll grading the offensive line for Arkansas. KJ Jefferson didn't have any time whatsoever to be able to kind of go through his progression with the new offensive coordinator and Kenny Guyton. So very impressed with Auburn today on the road because a lot of people, as we know, had this game very, very tight over at Fayetteville.
Carl spends a lot of time as is with his job up in Huntsville at WAFF covering both Alabama and Auburn. And you covering Auburn, you saw Jarquez Hunter last year, and it took a while for us to get back to what we've seen the last few weeks, where Jarquez is looking himself again. I didn't. There was a point this season I didn't think we'd see him again looking like he did last year, but now he is that running back again.
He is, and I think that we forget that the young man hasn't played kind of a lot of game football this year relative to whatever may have occurred off the field or him being not involved within the program from a game time status. So it just takes a little time. You have to play football to be good at football, right? And I think that Jarquez, along with, I just keep going back to the offensive line, just along with some of the guys there that have been rotating. You've had guys injured. You've had guys that may have had to rotate in spots. It's kind of been a hodgepodge of guys up front with those front five. But credit to them being an extension of Jarquez and just being able to move the chains and give him an opportunity to run the floor. He's been fantastic. Outside of you think about it, relative to the league, outside of Quinshon Junkins. Schrader in Missouri. Man, he's been one of the better backs in the league the last month of the year for sure.
Troy back in and says Marcus Harris is graded out one of the top D linemen, D tackles in the nation, according to Pro Football Focus. And boy, our Huntsville crowd checking in today. Kyle, Carl, exclamation points. And then here's Jeff, Carl, exclamation points. They're all checking in today. We appreciate all you folks up in Huntsville. Hey, real quickly, we're going to get everybody back to the game so they can go watch them as we're kicking the 6 o'clock games, including Ole Miss, Georgia. We may be back on later tonight. Heck, we may come on after Oregon if that ends up being a crazy game, either positive Bo Nix or maybe an upset loss that opens the door for possibly an SEC champion to get in there. I did want to bounce around a couple other things. It looks like Florida State's going to survive, and people were talking about the injury from the quarterback. The guy who was playing the quarterback, he dove for the ball, and two players, one had him and one landed on him. It did look like his arm snapped in half there as he was diving for that. And they had to bring in Tyler Van Dyke, and they have now shut that drive down, and Florida State looks like they're going to win that game. What do you think of Washington earlier today, battling Utah? They hold on to win that one. You think they can stay unbeaten and meet Oregon possibly for the winner of that to get into the playoffs?
I do, and I'll say this: I think a lot of credit needs to go to Utah, and what I mean by that is we know the type of program that the Utes have. But I want to just send a big shout out to Utah because it could have been very, very easy for that game to kind of gotten away from them. Kept fighting, kept battling. I watched the majority of that game, especially the second half of that contest. And in turn, I think a lot of folks that we watch college football from a national perspective outside of the SEC landscape, we hear Michael Penix and we hear Roma Duze, and we know what those two guys can bring to the table. And of course, Tyler Johnson running the football. But kind of an opportune defense, kind of a defense that can kind of create some issues. We mentioned you saw the guy, the defensive player that got the pick. He didn't cross the plane, dropped the football. Utah kind of Johnny on the spot there. It was baffling. I was like, my gosh, are you going to lose the game or have them tie the game with that? But yes, I just believe, personal opinion, that we're going to have a rematch in the Pac-12 championship game. I think Washington is really good. And, man, you want to talk about – we mentioned Hugh Freeze, Jim. Kalen DeBoer, the way that he can dial it up in the way that he can stress a defense. My goodness, he is incredible, and much credit to them.
Okay, give me a couple of 15-second answers here. Florida State doesn't look like there's anybody in the ACC that's going to keep them out of the playoffs, does it?
No, I think that it looks like a collision course with Florida State and Louisville. Louisville, though, has a tricky game at Miami next week. Interested to see how they respond after kind of gutting it out against Virginia on Thursday night.
Yeah, and can you believe the way Missouri beat the eyes out of Tennessee today, 36-7?
Only for one reason. I thought that Tennessee would be able to be disruptive on the defensive line. They were not able to do that. Shout out to Cody Schrader, as I mentioned. Monster game for him. They kind of controlled the line of scrimmage there. I was pleasantly surprised. Missouri is arguably, outside of Georgia and Alabama, maybe the most complete team in the SEC.
All right. We appreciate you, Carl. If you're in the Huntsville area, like a lot of you are, WAFF, Monday through Friday up there, and you see him in the stadiums with Alabama and Auburn most of the time. He'll be at that Iron Bowl, as Paul says. It's going to be a tussle down at Jordan-Hare in a couple of weeks. And for Alabama, if they get through Chattanooga, it could be a game that could keep them in or out of the college football playoff race. Carl, thank you, man. Everybody enjoy the night games, and maybe I can wrestle down Brownie and LT to be on with us later tonight. Thanks, Carl. See you, buddy.
See you, buddy.